Women have been conditioned by society to be, act, and think a certain way. Here at Girls IRL, we encourage women to challenge societal norms and embrace their femininity. With that being said, let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls in Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Mariah Clayton, and this is Girls in Real Life at night. Oh my god, that was so corny. Have y'all seen that episode of Spongebob where he's like, at night? I literally hate SpongeBob, but my sister was obsessed with SpongeBob when we were growing up, so I feel like I've seen every single episode against my will, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm coming at y'all on what is today? A Wednesday night. It is currently 8:00 p.m. And y'all know typically I do not record the podcast at night because weird things happen at night. I recorded like maybe a handful of episodes at night and they've all been extremely unhinged. So I have no idea what's going to happen in tonight's episode. I've also had a little bit to drink. So here we are. My day today has been so extremely busy. My entire week, like all of last week was just so busy for me, especially with Justin gone as well. So it was just a lot to kind of handle everything. I mean, honestly, Ace was an angel. Like, he was so good, you guys. All we did was just play every single day, go to the park. I got him a water table from Costco. Like, we were literally living it up over here. So Ace was not the problem. It was more so like I had a lot of just work to do. I had a lot of content to film this past week, had a lot to do with the pageant, with like follow-up emails and sending out emails to our contestants and things like that. And then I also weirdly had a job interview. I don't want to talk too much about it because I like don't want to jinx myself, but your girl might be working not at like an office or anything, but if I get the job, I will share more about it and like more information about it. But I just don't like want to jinx myself because I'm literally going tomorrow to like my working interview to like do things there tomorrow. So I don't know how it's gonna go, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it goes well. And also I hope that it pays well too, because if I'm being transparent, I do have to drive a lot. It's about an hour and 20 minutes away from me. I know. Okay, don't come for me. But it is something that I'm interested in doing, and like it's very flexible, and honestly it's very fun, and it's a creative job. So depending on the pay and depending on like if it makes sense for me to do it, like I would be more than happy to make that drive, because I used to make that drive all the time when I was in grad school. So this is like not new to me at all. But I just kind of want to go out there and see what it would be like, what my day to day would look like, what the pay is going to be like I said. So anyways, I said all of that to say that is why I'm recording this episode at night, because I don't have time to film it during the week. Like, it's already Wednesday. Tomorrow I'm driving to my job interview, and then Friday I'm driving to Lafayette for a business meeting. So there's just a lot going on, and Ace is only in school until 3:00 or 3:30. So by the time he gets here, like I don't have time to like set up and film and everything. So that is why we're doing this at night. I actually just put him down to bed. We went to my cousin's house to go and spend some time because she has a daughter that's like a month younger than Ace. So I was like, they need to come and play together, because they've honestly never like played together. So I brought them there, and it was literally so cute. Like, we got there and she was just trying to kiss Ace the whole time and just like staring at Ace and like in awe, because she's not in daycare, so she's never really been around like other kids that often. So it was really cute to see. So anyways, that's why we were out kind of late, and then I brought him home, gave him a bath, and then put him in the bed immediately. And now I'm talking to you guys. We also celebrated my dad's birthday this past week. He turned 54, y'all. I can't even believe my parents are getting so old. That is like the one thing that I hate about getting older, is just like watching the people around you also grow and get older. So I don't even like want to think about that, but my parents are still young at heart. They still kind of look like they're in their 20s and 30s. Like, they honestly look so young. But we celebrated my dad's birthday, and we all went out to dinner. And when I say we all, I mean me and my siblings. And it's a lot of us. There's 7 of us, and 3 of us have kids. Both of my sisters have 2 kids, and I have 1 kid. So it was literally all of us out at dinner on I was about to say Saturday night, Jesus, on Tuesday night. And it was just chaos. Like, we've never all went out to dinner like this, not with all of our kids at least. So having them in the mix, and all of them are like 3 and under, um it was definitely a lot going on. Thankfully, we had a table outside, so they were able to kind of like run around the big patio area and wear themselves out a little bit. But if you know, you know, like if you have younger siblings or younger cousins, or you even have kids of your own, then you know the struggles of like going out to eat with just 1 or 2 kids. But 5 kids and then 7, 8, 9 adults, like, girl, we first of all, it took us forever to get our food, so we did not even leave the restaurant until like 9:30. I thought Ace was going to honestly like pass out or something, but he stayed up the whole time. He stayed up 3 hours past his bedtime. He wasn't really fussy at all. I let him play and all that kind of stuff, and I fed him some food, and he was good, but he knocked out as soon as we made it home. Last thing, Justin actually comes back tomorrow, the day that I'm recording this, so by the time you guys hear this, obviously he's already back home. But I would be so happy to have my man back home, y'all. Like, it's I can do it by myself. Like, I can handle the house. I can handle Ace. I made us dinner even. Like, I can handle it, but just knowing that I don't have to. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, that I do not have to do this on my own, because I honestly could not even fathom, like, me cleaning up the house every single day, taking care of Ace every single day, cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. Like, when Ace was at home and not at school, I was just like, Lord, this is too much. Like, I just couldn't do it. So I would be so happy to have him back home, have myself take a load off, and just kind of relax for the next few days, because I'm sure he's going to want to be all up in Ace's business, and that's fine by me, because I'm going to be sitting in my bed either sleeping, eating, or reading my book. Speaking of my book, this is the last thing I'll talk about before we get in today's episode. I am almost done with what's it called? Of Midnight. What is it called? Throne of Midnight? It's not Throne of Midnight. What is my book called? Child, let me see. I took a picture of it. Hold on. Crown of Midnight. Jesus, I don't know why I could not think of the name of my book, but Crown of Midnight, I'm almost done with it. It is literally breaking my heart. There is a tragedy in this book that happens, and I'm not going to say too much in case any of y'all want to read it. But just know, I was literally about to cry. I was literally about to cry over a fantasy character in a book. Like, I just can't help it. I get so attached. Even when I'm like watching TV shows or something. Like, if somebody dies, I'm just like, my heart is literally broken, because I'm thinking about how everybody else who is attached to them feels. Even though they're not real, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine like what this person is going through. And they were best friends and they were supposed to do this. And I'm just like, I cannot handle it. So anyways, I'm almost done with that. That's the second book of the Throne of Glass series that I'm reading, and then the next book after I finish Crown of Midnight is going to be Assassin's Blade, which is actually a prequel to the entire series, and you could read it first, but I wanted to read it third, because honestly there was this whole debate on TikTok about whether to read it first or third, and I just decided to read it third because that's how the author wrote it, in that order. And apparently you're supposed to find out a lot of information about the main character in this prequel that makes sense as to like how she reacted and why she acted certain ways in the first 2 books. And I'm excited, honestly. Like, I feel like reading these first 2 books has gotten me excited to read the third book, because now I'm like, wow, I wonder if they're going to touch on this character in this book, or I wonder if they're going to bring help us understand like why this moment was such a traumatic thing for her, you know? So I'm actually excited to read the book, which is good, because I feel like a lot of people said that book is kind of not boring, but like you could almost do without it if you really wanted to. But I feel like because I read these first 2 books first, then it's getting me excited to read the third book, because I'm eager to learn more about her background and her backstory and why the main character is the way that she is. But anyways, I know most of you guys do not care about that because y'all don't read. Well, actually, I don't know what y'all do. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and dive into what today's episode is all about, which is reinventing yourself, and how it's never too late to reinvent yourself. You have the power to change your circumstances at any point in time that you want. I have my iPad here with a bunch of notes written on it, so I feel like I'm gonna have a lot to say, but I'm gonna try not to be here all night, especially because like I still need to go and take a shower, and I don't know if I'm really liking the nighttime vibes. Like, y'all have to let me know in the comments if you like the nighttime vibes, because I just feel like in the daytime it's so much brighter and a lot more life. And this is just kind of like, I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like it. So anyways, I'm going to try and not sit here and talk your ear off all day, but I feel like I have so much to say that I might not be able to help it. So we're just going to try and get through all of this and just see where it leads us. So I really wanted to do this episode because I am a firm believer in a good rebrand. Like, I feel like there are a lot of moments that happen in your life where things change, or you might feel stuck or stagnant, or you might just feel like your life isn't going the way that you thought that it would go. And like, I feel like all of those are good moments for you to have a rebrand and to reinvent yourself into like the person that you always wanted to be. Because contrary to popular belief, you do not have to stay the same way forever. And you are the only person that has the power to change your current circumstance. So why not go into a rebrand, you know? So today's episode is going to be all about, like I said, reinventing yourself, figuring out how to become the best version of you, creating habits, thinking about your ideal self. What does that person do? How do they think? How do they act? Like, we are getting into the nitty gritty today. And I'm very excited. And I feel like this episode kind of was inspired by Justine's camera roll. Okay, I don't know if you guys follow her on TikTok, but she is a girl that blew up because she shared her journey of like wanting to become an influencer, and she wasn't afraid to put herself out there and show the process of what it looked like to actually become the version of herself that she always wanted to be. And I love her page because she is so transparent and vulnerable about her process, about her struggles, about, like how she got to where she is today. And she doesn't really gatekeep anything, but I thought that she was a really good example of a person who said, this is what I want to be, and then actually took the steps to doing it and reinvented themselves in a way that they always wanted to be from the beginning. I just kind of wanted to use her as like an example to segue into what we're talking about today, because like I said, she is the person who literally like told us what she wanted to be and actually became that, like she was able to walk out the steps and go through the process of what she needed to do in order to get to where she wanted to be. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people are scared about that. And I think that's why a lot of people don't really try to reinvent themselves, or they fail at reinventing themselves because they are afraid to just put themselves out there and to tell someone that they want to be something different than what they are now. Because it's almost kind of like a pride thing. Like, you're kind of like, your ego is almost like, how can I say that I'm not happy with my life? How can I say that I want more for myself when people assume that I'm happy with what I'm doing? When people think that, I'm already living the life that I want to live. It's almost, I don't want to say shameful, but you kind of had this pride about yourself where it's like, I don't want people to know that I'm not happy. I don't want people to know that I'm not making enough money. I don't want people to know that like I'm feeling stagnant in my life, right? Like, I feel like a lot of times our pride stops us from becoming the version of ourselves that we really want to be, number one. But number two, I also think that the opinions of other people prevent us from reinventing and rebranding ourselves as well. Because a lot of times the people around us, or the people that we see on social media, or who interact with us on social media, they kind of try and keep you in this box, and they almost limit you to one certain thing. Especially if you like go viral for something on Instagram or TikTok these days, like people just expect you to produce the same kind of content every single day for the rest of your life, right? And there's no room for you to actually grow or change or become something different. And I feel like that's where we've gone wrong in society. Like, we almost have these assumptions of what we think people are supposed to act like and what we think that they're supposed to be doing, when in reality they have the power to shift and change in any way that they want, whether it be their content, whether it be their body, whether it be their way of thinking, whether it be their job. Like, you are able to have the choice and the option to do what you want to do and switch and pivot at any given time. So I do think that sometimes if we listen to the opinions of other people, even though we might not have those limiting beliefs about ourselves, we allow the limiting beliefs of others to affect us anyway, or to stop us from doing something, or we even internalize their beliefs as our own beliefs. And it's just like a whole tangled web of mess of you not wanting or desiring to change your life because you're afraid of what people might think of you, or you're afraid of like failing, or you're afraid of, showing how you really feel to people. And I don't like that. I feel like that we should be able to have these conversations, especially if it's people that are close to us. If we do want to be something different, if we do want to change, because at the end of the day, like, that's what we're supposed to do as human beings. We're supposed to grow, and we're supposed to develop. Sorry, y'all, I'm kind of slurring my words a little bit. And we're supposed to grow in ways that, transcend who we used to be. But sometimes, like I said, the other people's opinions kind of hinder us from doing that, again, because maybe we're too prideful to tell them, or maybe like we're internalizing their limiting beliefs that they have about us in our own minds. And I guess just like as an example, let's just say that like you want to get closer in your relationship with God, but the people around you have never really gone to church. They never really believed in God. They don't really understand it. But you encountered something in your own life that was like, wait a second, like, this might be what I need. And then you go to your family and tell them like, hey, like, I want to start going to church. I want to start reading my Bible. I want to start praying. I don't want to party anymore. I don't want to smoke anymore. And then all these people are like, what? Like, this is what we do. Like, when we hang out, this is how we act. This is what you've always been. We've always done this. Like, why do you want to change now? Right? Like, it's those kind of situations where, you tell someone that you're desiring something different, or you want to try something new, or you want to step out on faith and do something. And they're kind of like, what? Like, what do you mean you want to do this? Like, we've never done this before. So why do you want to do it now? And I feel like a lot of times people do this because, I don't know, maybe they just don't want you to be better than them. Like, maybe they might feel like, oh, well, since you want to go to church now, and since you want to read your Bible and all of this stuff, then you must feel like you're better than us because you're not drinking anymore and you're not staying out late and all this other kind of stuff, right? Like, a lot of times people are just jealous, or they don't want you to be better than them, or kind of have like that step up above them, because they're still in the same place that they were 5 years ago, and they've never desired to change. So you cannot let other people's limiting beliefs about you become the way that you view yourself, because if you allow that to happen, then you will never, want to step out or rebrand or reinvent yourself out of fear of being rejected by the very people who mean the most to you. And it's sad to think about, but like, sometimes that happens, and that's like real life. So you really need to just be mindful of like who you're sharing your desires with and your dreams with, because some people can be dream killers and dream crushers and actually prevent you from doing the thing that you wanted to do in the first place. I don't know how we got there, but that was for somebody. Since we're on the topic of like limiting beliefs, yes, sometimes other people can have limiting beliefs about you, but you can also have limiting beliefs about yourself. And I feel like limiting beliefs are a form of self-sabotage. If you are constantly telling yourself, I can't do this, I'll never amount to this, I'll never be able to achieve that, am I really capable of doing this? Like, you are self-sabotaging yourself, because you are literally talking yourself out of doing the thing that you want to do, or out of becoming the version of you that you want to be. And it's like, the only person holding you back in that instance is you. You're the only person sabotaging your growth and your development at that point, because you have these limiting beliefs about yourself. So if that is you, then you're really going to have to do a lot of work on shifting your mindset and changing your thoughts from I can't, or I won't be able to, or I'll never be, to I can, I will, and so on and so forth. I can't remember the third thing that I said. Now, a lot of times your limiting beliefs don't necessarily come from you inherently. A lot of times they can come from society. They can come from your friends. They can come from social media. They can come from you seeing someone else and, looking at your own gifts and talents and realizing that you don't have what they have, right? Like, I feel like it kind of comes from all of these different external factors, but we internalize them because now we've conditioned our mind to think that way. And when you condition your mind to think a certain way, sometimes it can be a long, long time before you are out of that mindset, because it's what you've always thought about yourself for as long as you could remember. So in order to get over your limiting beliefs, you're really going to have to do, like I said, a lot of work, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of shifting your mindset and turning your negative thoughts into positive thoughts, so that you can actually become the you that you've always sought for yourself. That you've always seen for yourself. Y'all, see, this is why I do not record podcast episodes at night, because I can't. I just can't. I'm never doing this again. Y'all remind me that I'm never recording a podcast at night ever again. Another thing that I want to touch on that might hinder us from reinventing or rebranding ourselves are labels. I feel like, especially in today's world, people want to put labels on everything, because honestly, society just needs to be able to place you in a box. Like, they need to be able to say, yep, this is your label. You're LGBTQ, you're Christian, you're this, you're that, you're whatever, you're a mom, you're like all of these things, right? And they put you in these boxes and they expect you to stay in these boxes forever and ever and ever. Like, labels can be nice in order for you to kind of have a sense of identity, but I feel like they can also be a hindrance to you, because if you constantly tell yourself that you're this label, then you subconsciously think that you can never be in a different box or placed in a different label or do something else, because you're always meant to be over here. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like labels are limits that are put on us by society in order to trick us into thinking that we can't ever be anything more. They want to just place us in this perfect little space in the world and make sure that we're pacified, make sure that we're taken care of, make sure we don't ruffle too many feathers, and then like we're good for the rest of our lives. But I hate labels. Like, I hate being or feeling like I am stuck in a certain area, or I am stuck doing one thing, or I am stuck feeling a certain way, because who wants to be limited like that? Who wants to say, no, you can't step out of here because you've always been this, and you can never be over there because you'll never be that? It's just unfair. And again, it's a label that society is putting on us that limits us from doing anything else or ever doing anything more. So yes, labels can be good, but I also feel like labels can be extremely limiting, especially when it comes to you wanting to branch out and do something or be something else that the other people in your box have never done before. And this is kind of going back to what I said. I only mentioned it briefly, but I said that you can't share your dreams and your goals with everyone. I feel like that is especially true if you are, talking to someone who really identifies with their label and who really is just like, yes, this is what I am, this is what I do. Like, there are just certain people that you can't talk to, because even though they might mean well, they truly don't know the damage that they're doing to you and your confidence and like your journey into your rebrand, because they think that they're helping you. Like, they mean well. They think like, oh no, you don't need to step out there. Like, it's good over here. Like, we got everything we need right here. And they mean well, but it's almost kind of like a defense mechanism. Like, you're just fearful of the unknown, and they project that onto you. So you're never willing or able to step out of that box or that label, because they're like, the party's over here, like, we don't know what's out there. So again, I just wanted to say that, like, you can't share your dreams with everyone, because even though they might mean well, they really could be doing a damage and a disservice to you. You cannot allow them to project their fear onto you, because if you're scared of doing something, then we all know you're going to be very reluctant to do it, because it's scary, it's unknown. Like, I don't know how I'm going to feel if I do this, right? Like, there are a lot of scary things about stepping into something new or doing something that you've never done before, or wanting to become a different version of yourself. So you have to be willing to look past the fear. You have to be willing to surround yourself with people who will encourage you to step out and do things a different way, instead of, just telling you, we're all good over here. Like, we're comfy, we're cozy, we're chilling, we're living life the way that life is supposed to be lived, and not being able to do anything more. Because a lot of times, some people, like they just want the basics. Like they just want the bare minimum. But for my dreamers and for my people who like want to be more and know that they can be more and are unhappy or unsatisfied with the way that their life is going right now, like you need somebody to tell you that you can exceed beyond. There is beauty in growth. There is beauty in change. There is beauty in leveling up. There is beauty in becoming like the version of you that you always saw for yourself, right? But it can also be kind of sad because you're leaving a life behind. Maybe there are some things that you won't be able to bring with you as you turn into this new version of you. And like, it's okay to mourn those things. It's okay to grieve them. It's okay to like go through that grieving process. But in the end, you have to know and understand that what you're working towards and where you're going is so much greater than what you're leaving behind. And even though it might hurt right now, you're going to look back and thank yourself one day for stepping out of a situation that put you somewhere better, somewhere that you always knew you could be, but you were just unsure if you would ever get there. Like you have to be willing to give yourself the chance to even just try. So how do we get there? How do we get to this ideal version of ourselves? How do we get to this reinvented version of you? Well, first you have to understand who you are now and who you want to become. This is where you have to do a lot of deep work, a lot of self-reflection, ask yourself a lot of very important questions, and be truly honest with yourself. You have to discover what your desires in life are. You have to discover what makes you happy. You have to decide the type of life that you want to live. You have to figure out what you actually want out of life versus what society wants for you out of life. And this can be hard, like a lot of this you might have to do in therapy. You might have to write in your journal. You might have to spend a lot of time with yourself, but eventually you will figure out those things. You will figure out like what makes your soul the happiest? What are your deepest desires? What have you always wanted to do regardless of the money, of the status, of the fame? Like, who do you want to be? Once you figure that out, then you're going to move on to step number 2, which is drawing or writing out your ideal self. What is this version of yourself doing? What does her day-to-day look like? What does her routine look like? What type of characteristics does she have? Where does she live? What does she do for a living? How does she spend her time, right? Like there are so many questions that you need to answer about your ideal self, because when you get those answers, then you can actually take actionable steps towards working to what this ideal version of you actually does. Hold on, I'm actually gonna go and grab my journal really quickly because I did this this was like 2 or 3 years ago, honestly. So a lot of things that I wrote about my ideal self don't really apply to me now, but I'm going to go get it and we're going to read it together because I haven't looked at it in a long time, but I just remembered that I actually did this exercise. So hold on. Y'all, this is from January 6th, 2022. So 2 years ago. And y'all can see, I don't know if y'all can see, but I literally drew a stick figure with curly hair as like a version of me. But this is what I wrote out about my ideal self. And I just drew a picture of myself and then wrote out things around the stick figure's body. So anyways, my ideal self, she is happy. She runs every day. She drinks lots of water. She creates content. She has a highly listened to podcast. She journals consistently. She has a dog that she brings everywhere. She talks to her family every day. She is a business owner. She is disciplined. She is fearless. She is unapologetically herself. She travels often. She leaves people or situations that no longer serve her. She is financially competent. She's an avid reader. Wait, hold on. She models. She cooks healthy meals. She works out 5 times a week. She's optimistic. And this last one is funny. She lives in a downtown apartment, which I do not do. But honestly, all of these other ones are pretty spot on. Now that I'm looking back at this, I thought that there was going to be like crazy things on there. I don't even know what, but this is like doable. I feel like I do a lot of this. But yeah, that's what I want you guys to do. Like that is your homework once this episode is over. Like I want you to write out or draw your ideal self and write out the characteristics that that person have, the schedule that she has, what does she do, what is her job, right? Like, who are her friends, what type of people is she surrounding herself with? Like, it sounds silly, but I feel like it is very intentional, because if you can write out and think about what your ideal self is doing, then you can kind of mark and check off, okay, I'm already doing this, but I'm not doing this. I don't really do this, but in order for me to do this, then I'm going to be able to have to do this, right? Like, it just allows you to kind of have an action plan to get to where you want to be. And it's also kind of fun. And I also feel like this kind of takes the pressure off of things that you need to do, because when you're writing out your ideal self, the focus is not on what you need to do. The focus is on who you need to be. It's more of like, who do I need to be in order to accomplish my goals, in order to get to where I want to be, in order to become the person that I want to be? What traits and characteristics and habits does this person have? And I feel like once you figure that out, then the action part kind of comes after, because in order to be something, you have to be willing to put in the work to actually do to become. Does that make sense? The do and the be, they kind of like work together. It's kind of like an ebb and flow. You can't be something without doing something, but you can do a lot of things without being something, right? Like, you can do a lot of things that are not actually working towards you becoming who you want to be. You could just be doing a lot of nonsense things that you don't need to do. So I feel like when you decide who you want to be, you become really intentional about the things that you need to do, and you're not wasting your time doing things that are not serving your future self or your ideal self. It really allows you to focus more on the personal growth and like development and the actions that follow that. Okay, the next step in reinventing and rebranding yourself, you cannot be afraid to put yourself out there. Okay, so we are going to do a little something called exposure therapy. And this just simply means doing the thing that you want to do, even though you might be a little bit uncomfortable doing it. This is the only way that you will be able to become the person that you want to be, is if you actually put yourself out there, is if you put the fear aside and you decide that you want to actually do what you said you were going to do. You're actually going to be the person that you said you were going to be. And a lot of times, you're doing exposure therapy when like you've literally never done it before, right? So let's say that you want to be a content creator, but you're scared to take pictures of yourself in public. Well, exposure therapy would be, I'm going to go set up my tripod in the middle of the sidewalk and take pictures in public. Like, you're literally exposing yourself to the thing that you want to do and be. And yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a little bit scary. You're going to feel a little bit silly. You might not get it right the first time. You might embarrass yourself. But the more that you do it and the more that you train your muscle, it's going to come a lot easier. And pretty soon it's going to just be like second nature. Like, it's nothing for me to set up my tripod and take a picture in the middle of the street, because I've done it before. I know what it feels like to do this. The exposure therapy is going to take some time and some practice. I feel like you might be in this stage for a little bit, but I feel like this is the part where you are building and actually becoming, right? Like, this is the becoming part. This is the verb part of you actually being the person that you said you were going to be, because you're doing the things that that person does. So I feel like this is where a lot of the growth happens, a lot of the development happens, so that when months and years pass down the line, this version of you has already trained the muscle that needed to be worked in order to become your ideal self. I really hope I'm making sense, y'all, because sometimes I just be saying stuff and I don't really know if it makes sense, but I think that sounded good. In other words, I guess what I'm trying to say is you have to fake it until you make it, okay? And I know some people don't really like that saying, but I think in this instance, it's true, and it really does make a lot of sense, because even though you're not the person who you want to be yet, you have to fake like you are. You have to start acting like how your ideal self acts. You have to start doing the things that your ideal self does, even though this version of you has never done those things before. So it's like you have to fake it until you actually do become that person, and then you're not faking it anymore. You're literally just being who you said you were going to be. And then the last step that we are going to take towards rebranding and reinventing ourselves is we are going to start now, okay? I know a lot of people try and wait for the new year or maybe for a Monday or maybe for a start of a new month, but there is literally no perfect time to reinvent yourself than the present moment. Reinvention can literally happen at any time. Like, what are you waiting for? Why are you waiting? Are you waiting until like you get some more money? Are you waiting until like I don't know what you could be waiting on. Like if you want to become something better, something greater than what you are right now, then only you have the power to change your circumstance. The only thing standing between you and the life that you want is literally you. But more specifically, I guess it's your actions, right? So if you continue to decide, well, I'm just going to wait until it's my time. I'm going to just scope the scenery out and just see where life leads me. No, you can't. You cannot be a passive spectator in your own life. You have to put in the work. You have to put the action behind the words that you say and the person that you said that you want to be. Because anybody can say they want to be anything. I can say I want to be a billionaire all day long. I want to be a billionaire. I want to be a billionaire. But if I continue to sleep in until noon every day, or I continue to spend my time watching Netflix instead of learning about building a business or, splitting my income or having multiple streams of income, how am I ever going to be a billionaire? If I don't learn discipline and how to manage my money with what I have, how am I ever going to become a billionaire? So you have to be willing to put your actions behind your words and like stand on business of your actions, because that is really what is limiting you from becoming the version of you that you want to be. So you have to just start now. You have to be willing to put in the work now in order to reap the benefits of that future version, of that ideal version of yourself, because all the work starts now. There are no like certain requirements that you need to meet in order to start working towards your future self. You don't need to be in a bigger house. You don't need to make more money. You don't need to be skinnier. Like, I don't know what is holding you back, but you need to stop waiting to live the life that God destined for you to live, because the only person that you're hurting is yourself. Your life is literally a result of what you have done. Not what you think about, not what you wish for, not what you desire, not what you want, but what you have done. The work that you've put in, the actions that have built up to this moment, the decisions and the choices that have led you here. It can't just be a dream. It can't just be, oh, I'm making a cute vision board. Oh, I'm setting my intentions for the day. Like, that's cute. That's real cute to do that, to be a daydreamer and to make the vision boards and to, be on Pinterest all day. Like, that's real cute. But action, actually doing the things that are going to get you to where you want to be, that is where the true transformation of your life starts. You can't look at your circumstances right now and limit yourself. Just because you look around and you don't see even a sliver of that version of you that you want to be, you cannot let that limit you. You cannot let that stop you from actually taking the steps to becoming who you've always wanted to be. Because the only person, like I said, again, you're hurting is yourself. The only person that is standing in your way is you. You have the power to decide how you respond to things. You have the power to decide how you move forward. You have the power to make decisions about your life that impact you in ways that only you can impact. You literally get to change the narrative about your life. You don't have to be who you were back in high school. You don't have to be just that girl from the ghetto. I don't know why I said that. You don't have to just be that person who only does this type of content. You don't just have to be that person who came from a broken family. You don't just have to be that person who is a single mom and had a baby at 16. That does not have to be your story for the rest of your life. You get to change the narrative at any point in time. This is your story and you hold the pen to the chapters and the words on the page. Your mistakes do not matter. Your age does not matter. Your fear does not matter. It is never too late to reinvent yourself. You could be 60. You could be 18. You could have made the biggest mistake of your life. You could be in jail right now for murder. Like, I don't know. But I'm telling you, your label does not define where your life has to always be. You can change the label, you can change the narrative, you can become the version of you that you've always wanted to be. You are not your mistakes. Your past does not define who you are right now. Your present moment, your present version of you defines who you are for your future. You can't go back in the past and like change the decisions that you made and change the life that you lived and change the circumstances that you grew up with. Those are things that are out of your control. But the thing that's in your control right now is you and your actions and your thoughts. Only you can get you out of this stagnant place that you're in. Only you can help shift and change your life. Only you can help you feel motivated again. Only you can make you feel happy and excited about life again. And I know I'm saying it and I'm making it sound like it's so easy, like just change your mindset. Like I know that there is so much more that goes into this, y'all, and I feel like we honestly just talked about the process of becoming a new version of yourself, of rebranding yourself and reinventing yourself. We just went over it. It's not as easy as I'm making it seem, but I'm telling you, it is worth it. The process and the journey of like dying to your old self and becoming the person that God has called you to be, aligning the desires that God has for you with yourself and actually doing the steps that it takes to get there. Like there is no greater reward than that. There is no greater reward than living your life to the fullest, living the life that God desires for you to live. All it takes is just one split second of I want to do this. I want to be this. This is who I know I'm supposed to be. And everything else can shift and change. It might not be like this. It might not happen overnight. It might be a process. It might be a long journey. But when you get to the end of it, you get to look back and be like, man, I'm so proud of myself. I became exactly who I said I was going to be. I'm doing the things that I said that I was going to do. I lived the life that I said I always wanted to live. And what greater reward is that? I don't know who I'm talking to, y'all. I feel like I'm preaching right now. I don't really like to be too preachy, but I guess the Holy Spirit is just talking to me. So that's what we saying, okay? The last thing that I want to leave y'all with is this. I wrote this down on my iPad. It says, people will always try to remind you of who you used to be, but it is your job to continue becoming in spite of. Like I said at the beginning about the opinions of other people, like when people see you stepping outside of, the box that you're in and actually doing great things in the world, they're going to try and stop you. They're going to try and keep you in that box. They're going to try and remind you of who you used to be and the mistakes that you made and the life that you live and the environment that you come from. They're going to try and throw everything at you to remind you that you are not worth a life greater than the one that you're living. And you know why they do that? It's because they believe that about themselves. You cannot let their thoughts and feelings project onto you. I feel like I've said that a lot for some reason, but it's so true because I feel like the people around us, they play a big factor in who we are and who we decide to become. And it can take a lot of faith and a lot of confidence to step outside of that, especially if it's something your family has never done before, your friends have never done before. You're the first one doing it. It doesn't make sense to anybody else, but it makes perfect sense to you. Don't let them remind you of who you used to be. Don't let them deter you from the path that you have set for yourself. Don't give in to the peer pressure. Don't let them tempt you into, doing things and acts that you might have done in your old life, but you no longer have a desire to do now. Don't let them allow you to regress in your progress. It is your job, your sole duty to continue becoming in spite of what other people try to remind you of about your past self. Don't let these people stand in your way who only believe the negative things about themselves. Don't let these people stand in your way who have never been confident or brave enough to do the very thing that you're trying to do. Don't let them project that onto you because you don't need that energy. You don't need that in your life. Again, you need somebody who's going to speak life into you, who is going to encourage you to continue going down the path that you're going on because you can have a better life. You can have a greater life. You can become the version of you that you've always wanted to be. You just have to believe it in yourself and you have to be willing to put in the work to get there and block out all the other excess noise. So, anyways, whoo child, I've been talking for a minute, but that is all that I have to say. I I don't know what just happened. I feel like I said a lot just now, but it was needed. It was needed for me personally, because I feel like right now I am personally in the middle of a rebrand. I am kind of reevaluating my life and deciding like what I don't like about my life, what I need to change, how I want to move forward so I can fully be happy. And I feel like this episode has helped me in a lot of ways, and I truly, truly hope that it helped you. We have all the power, guys. It is never too late to reinvent ourselves. We can change our narrative and our story literally at any point in time that we want. And it's up to you to be able to do that, to be able to shift your life, shift your mindset, shift your world. So, anyways, apply this to your life how you will. I did my job. I'm just the messenger, but I'm going to go ahead and go now and take my shower and get ready for bed. But I love you guys so, so much. Thank you for listening. If you did enjoy the episode, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast before you leave. Leave me a nice little comment down below. I love reading them. But aside from that, I hope that you guys have a great Monday, a great week, and I will talk to you in my next episode. Bye.